Good evening, everybody. Again, welcome back, Spartan Nation. We now bring in Spartan Nation senior writer, the one, the only, the legend himself, the great John Shop, Spartan Nation senior writer for our weekly State of Michigan State. John, in this segment, we always talk Michigan State, but I want to talk big picture sports for a minute. We lost conference tournaments. We lost the big dance, which many people think is the biggest part of sports in America. That certainly is arguable. Certainly is something that a case could be made. But the NFL draft came back, and I mean it was bigger than the NFL draft. Now we know this. NFL football is the largest form of entertainment in the world. It's bigger than Hollywood. Look at the ratings it gets. It's bigger. I mean, it's not just sports. It's complete entertainment. How cathartic, how important was it for America to gather around their TV sets, fans or not, and to not be watching replays of old games, but to be getting some semblance of normal back watching, even though it wasn't on the field, real sports?
Adult daydreaming is a big deal, and the NFL is the most popular form of entertainment in the country, as you said. It's also the most popular sport. It's kind of a graduation ceremony. That's what it feels like to me when I watch that. I'm like, oh, I remember this guy. I see a highlight of a game. I'm like, yep, I remember that one. So it feels fun for people that are maybe a little more college football fan than NFL fan. And obviously it feels great for NFL fans because those folks love to think, how good can my team be? There's no better time to do it than the draft. It is amazing. It is very great distraction for so many folks. It's a little bit of relief for a little while during a very, very strange and difficult time. For me personally, it's ironic because when we arrived to Las Vegas last month, the Pac-10 tournament had just begun, and the folks were talking about where the NFL draft was going to be on Las Vegas Boulevard. And look at the reality of the situation. So this draft, nice mental break, nice chance to focus on something, nice chance for people to daydream about how their team will get better from the draft. And there's probably going to be a few people out there that scratch their head at some of the picks they saw.
John, we have never been afraid at Spartan Nation to talk big picture. And I want to do that right now because there's something that I've got to discuss with you. It's not just Michigan State, it's college athletics. I did not have this conversation with Bill Beekman, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I cover Michigan State. If I say I talked with an athletic director, people always assume. But I was speaking to an athletic director who said something to me. I called him after Boise State furloughed their entire football program. I mean, all their staff just furloughed them. And he said to me, Hondo, I don't care if you're gay or straight, black or white, Christian, atheist, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. I don't care if you love sports, hate sports. I don't care who you are. If you have any enjoyment, whether it's women's crew or football, if you have any interest in college sports, you better be rooting that when the season comes back, and it starts on time and the stands are full. And he goes, because I'm going to tell you right now, losing the tournament and the conference tournaments was massive. But if we lose football in any way, he said, you're going to see massive, massive bankruptcies. It is going to be a nuclear bomb in the middle of college sports. He said, and here's the thing, even if they clear it, he goes, I know what I'm hearing from our fan base. People are very timid to want to go back into massive settings. And he goes, even now that most of us big schools get more money from TV than tickets, we still need those ticket sales. And he says, and a lot of us run on such tight margins. He goes, where am I going to go get a $40 million loan? And where are 100 colleges going to go get them? He just said to me, he goes, people are not talking enough. And he said, you should talk about this on your show. People are not talking enough about how much in trouble we are if we lose any part of football. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're not talking about it quite enough yet because it's still a little further out there and it's too painful to even take an evaluation of. But you need to absolutely put it on the calendar if you're looking ahead. I would expect that just that scenario is going to play out. You talked about a key there. If we lose any part of football, so any home game essentially that is lost is a massive revenue hit, and they seem to affect some of the bigger programs more because of how much they collect. It will be very, very difficult to stomach and to proceed through. I think they need to plan on it. It seems really difficult to imagine a scenario today where the season goes off as planned and the full capacity of fans are invited into the stadium, let alone proceed into it. It's almost as difficult for me to conceive that there won't be some semblance of college football this year because of the television ratings that you can imagine. I would think that there'll probably be more people than ever watching football this fall or winter or both, and there's way too much on the line for college sports, for each individual program, even at the major conference level, not to play football. They need that revenue, they need that exposure, and they've got a pretty good argument that folks need the sense of normalcy. I'm sure not too far down the road, we're going to talk about already some lines that have been drawn in the sand about needing students in class, in session, in order to play those games. Curious how different leaders at universities across this country will amend or change their opinion, because some have already put that stake in the ground, and that may be a big one in a couple months.
Contributor. John, I want to turn to Mel Tucker, and you and I have said this for years. He has completely taken a SEC approach to recruiting, which is every staff member has to recruit every day. 7 days a week, you're recruiting. And you may say, well, what about if I take a vacation? Well, then you're taking some time to call recruits. 7 days a week, recruiting. We recruit anybody, anywhere. If you can play here, you will have an offer. And we're going to go across the nation. He's already starting to get recruits. He is almost instantaneously. And you know what really, John, you know me. This makes me so angry. I heard a person say yesterday, wow, it really helps having a black coach because we're able to recruit Detroit. We are able to recruit Detroit now, and it has nothing to do with Mel Tucker's skin color. It has to do with how he's done it. I mean, it made me so angry. And the thing that made me angry was the person that said it was a person of color. This has nothing to do with color, us recruiting Detroit, because there was a time Mark D'Antonio recruited Detroit very well. But he's been able to repair relationships. His coaches have reached out and done a tremendous job. They're recruiting every state, every player. I mean, you can't grade him on field, and it's not his fault for COVID-19. But man, has Mel Tucker done an amazing job and his staff getting this place on good footing again. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm curious whether he intended to immediately ramp up the national recruiting or if he decided to speed it up given what's going on, because this has gone a little quicker than I would have expected. Your issue that was brought up with the city of Detroit and the Detroit area, for sure any new coach was going to have a chance to refresh and completely reset the relations with high school coaches in that area. That's the main key. But what you're seeing is a reception to Mel Tucker across the nation that I kind of sensed was possible, but maybe didn't realize would be this good so far. And there's no reason to expect it's going to stop. This is a rising star in the sport. This is a guy with an incredible pedigree who selected Michigan State as a dream job. That tells me when the NFL potentially comes calling years down the road, if he's got on-field success, he's probably more likely than not going to say no thanks. So I'm not terribly surprised. I'm in a part of the country that Mel Tucker worked. When he came back to college football, he's held in about as high as regard as you can have. That makes a difference for a lot of folks in this region of the Southeast. He's obviously got a lot of recruiting spread all the way to the West Coast and if not beyond. And what we hope to happen is an opportunity for players to make some semblance of on-campus visits before they get a chance to make decisions for this coming up class. Call me crazy. This recruiting class is not going to be exactly like any of the others that anyone's ever seen. So the fact that they're doing such groundwork right now and committed to working 7 days a week on it, I have to think is going to pay dividends, because a lot of programs right now probably scrambling for a way to catch up.
Totally agree. He is the one and only, the great one, the living legend. Next week, we're going to be talking a lot of NFL draft. The great coach, the great John Schopp with the state of Michigan State football. Michigan State football.